Hi again. Here we are to talk more about CALayer. What I'd like to do is a short video on making a gradient. Okay, so I'm going to follow the same thing I did in the last video, and this time we'll make a simple gradient layer. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make I'm going to make a view that has a gradient inside it, okay? And you could use this technique to put a gradient wherever you wanted, but I'm going to do it inside a view. So what I'll do is I'll make a brand new file, and I'll make it a subclass of UI view. I'll call it, I already did one here called gradient view, but I'll make a new one, right? I'll call it grad view. How about that? And then I'll save it to my folder, right? So here it is in the outline, right? And again, we have the UI view class, and then we have our draw method, which we don't need. So the first thing we need to do is make an initializer. So we'll init with frame. We'll call super dot init with frame, and we'll pass the frame up, and then we'll get asked to add override here, and we'll need to include init with coder. So now we're all set. Okay, so now how are we going to draw a gradient? Well, CALayer is the basic drawing unit, and it has a subclass called CAGradientView. So gradient view takes a list of colors that you can, that can be the color stops on your gradient, and it also takes a start and an end point that says where the gradient begins and ends. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll say, let G for gradient layer equal CA gradient layer, right? And maybe I want this gradient layer to fill the entire view, so I'll say G dot frame equals bounds. Okay, so that should make the frame of this fill the area of this view. Okay, so now we need to make some colors. So I'm going to put the colors in an array because the gradient layer has a property called colors, right? You can see it's got this brackets there, so it's telling me that this needs to be an array, right? So what we'll do first is we'll say let colors equal, and then we'll put some colors in this array, right? So that means we need to have some colors, right? It's a little verbose, so I'm going to put these on their own line. So maybe, color A will be UI color. Let's do some color. I'll just pick some colors. I'll do red, right? And then I'll say, let B equal UI color dot yellow, and then I'll put color A and color B here. Okay, now the gradient colors property, right? If I say like G dot colors right here, and I'll actually, let me do it again. Let me type it there, right? Yeah, you can see it says any. Really, this needs to be, I think it says any because you can use a couple different kinds of colors. UI color doesn't work though, but CG color does work. So we got to make sure that we put some CG colors in here. Okay, it doesn't really show us that, but that's what we need. So these are UI colors right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack on CG color on the end of the color there. And then what we'll do is we'll set this equal to colors. So it would allow us to assign this colors array to colors here, but then the colors just wouldn't show up correctly. Okay, so we'll do this, and then now we need to set our color stop. So what we'll do is we'll say G dot start point, right? And you can see start point is a CG point, right? Here, I'll type it in there again, right? Start point is CG point, right? And so this is the point where the gradient begins. Now, here's the thing about the gradient, right? The point isn't really measured on the screen. What it's done is it's measured from 0 to 1, okay? So if we put 1 point at 0, 0, that's the upper left corner of whatever rectangle, no matter what the size of the rectangle is. And if we put another point at 1x and 1y, that puts that point in the bottom right corner. So 0, 0 is the upper left corner, 1, 1 is the bottom right. So if I want to make a gradient that runs horizontally from left to right, what I'll do is I'll make a CG point that is x of 0, so that's all the way on the left side, and y of 0.5, that'll be halfway up between the top and bottom of whatever rectangle we have. And then I'll say g.endPoint, right, equals CG point. And then this point I want to put it all the way on the right side, so that'll be x of 1, okay? And then I want to put it 50% up the right side, okay? So now my line goes right through the middle, okay? I could have just, this would actually look the same if the y value was 1 and 1 or 0 and 0 in our case. But if I put the y of 0 and a y of 1 down here, our gradient would go on a diagonal, okay? So anyway, there's our start and our end point. What do we need to do here? Oh yeah, I think we need to add our gradient layer as a sub-layer to the views layer, right? Otherwise we won't see it. So let's say layer. And again, this layer right here is kind of like saying self.layer, right? And then we're going to say add sub-layer. And the sub-layer we want to add is G, okay? So now we've got a view that draws a gradient. And what we'll do is we'll go to our view controller, and I'll make a function like add, let's do lowercase m, make grad for gradient, right? And then we'll say, you know, like let g equal grad view is the view that we made. This we'll call our initializer init with frame, and we'll have to come up with a rectangle, and then we'll say, you know, view dot add subview g, right? So let's make up our rectangle here. This can just be view dot bounds, right? Because we want to put it in our internal space, right, for the main view. And then I'm going to go back up here to view did load, and I'll say like make grad, right? So it'll make this gradient right here. And then let's give it a test. Okay, there's our gradient there, right? So your job, I didn't do the whole solution here, but your job on this one would be to make this gradient here. So the colors are slightly different and they go top to bottom. I included the RGB values here in the example, okay? So anyway, good luck, and yeah, let me know how you do on that. Thanks.